Hey guys, and welcome to The Therapy Couch, aka TCP, the podcast where real life meets real emotions. Join me here each week where I'll be discussing topics to help you remember who the fuck you are and how to live your best life by being authentically you. We'll dive into the realm of the human experience, exploring the things that matter most. Feelings, trauma, self-discovery, relationships, and all the other complexities that come with surviving the journey of life. I'm your host, Josie Dickerson, and I'm here to create a safe and supportive space where listeners can connect, reflect, and grow. Let's get into it. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Therapy Couch. We are in our 6th and final week of the Awakening Authenticity miniseries. Can you believe we've made it this far? I feel like this is going to be the most important episode. Yes, the tool, let me say this. Yes, the other tools in this mini-series are super important, and you're not going to get where you're going if you can't figure those things out, right? Which I guess is why I started with those. But I low-key kind of feel like this should have been the first episode. But I feel like now that you have this foundation, remember last week I said, the previous 5 weeks were us building a foundation, and now we get to build our house, right? Now we get to build a home within ourselves, and this episode is going to be just that. We're going to figure out who the fuck we are. Who do we want to be? Who do we want to show up as? Who's that person that you see in the future that has all the things that you want, that you're going to take the steps on a daily to become that person? That is what we're going to do in this episode. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck am I, right? Who am I? So when I was doing my prep for this episode, you know that I always give you what to do and how to kind of navigate working through each of the steps, right? So this week, I sat down and I said, who are you? Who am I? Actually, if you hear some papers rustling in the background, it's me literally reading through what I did this week and what I want you guys to do when you get the time. But at the top of the page, I put, who am I? Who do I want to be? And the first question I asked myself is, who is she? So if you're anything like me, or I'll just offer from my perspective, right? So since I was a little girl, I have seen this adult version, this woman that I want to be, right? This person that I want to be. And I've seen her since I was little. I know exactly how she dresses, what she wears. I always very much had the materialistic aspects of her mapped out. I can see the hair color, how she wears her makeup, what kind of clothes she wears, what kind of car she drives. I can see it all of those materialistic, the physicalities of who she is as a woman, I have seen since I was as little as I could remember. I'd say probably I'll say 8. I've seen this woman that I was going to be, that I wanted to be. So I want you to first and foremost ask yourself that question, have you always seen this person that you want to be, right? The far-fetched idea of oh yeah, I can see what type of person I want to be, but I'll never be her. Or I don't know how to become her or him. The majority of my listeners are females, and I've decided to, as much as I want this to be an inclusive community, I am going to talk directly to my females because I'm a woman and I understand that perspective, and there's so much about being a man that I don't understand. There are some general tools that I think apply to both genders, but I'm just going to be talking to my ladies. But if that resonates with you, stick around. The info that I'm giving is still relevant. But I'm just going to be talking to my girlies. But is there that woman that you see in your mind that you're damn, Like, if I could step right into being her, I would do it in a heartbeat, because I've had that mental image the majority of my life. But so the first question that I asked myself was, who is she? Who is that girl? You know, I've seen her my whole life, but who the hell is she? She's me, right? So I wrote down the question, and then I started listing out who that woman in my mind is, you know. And I'm going to read like a little bit of what I wrote, but not everything. So the first thing I wrote is, she's compassionate. She doesn't know failure. She only sees the lessons. She's confident. She is unwavering in knowing that she is a good person. She doesn't get discouraged when things don't appear to be working out. She pivots. She is calm and loving. She is gentle. She doesn't care what others think, because she knows she was perfectly designed to be herself. She is grounded. She is routine and consistent. She puts herself first. She always bets on herself because she knows she's successful in everything she does. She sees beauty in everything. She is me. So, growing up, when I pictured this woman, right, that I was going to become, who my future self was going to be, I only focused on the physical things, what I looked like I just said, like, you know, what I looked like, how much money I made, or like, you know, the type of clothing that I wore, the kind of car that I wanted to drive. It was very much about materialistic things. As you all know, if you've been listening for a while, and if you haven't, like, I didn't grow up with money. So that to me was like, that was success. The money was the success, the nice clothes, the nice car, the, you know, having the best makeup and going to the salon, you know, every 6 to 8 weeks, and my hair always being done and everything. I'm always like together and perfect. And those are the things I saw. But when I sat down to write, who is she? I also thought about what kind of person I am. How am I going to be remembered? What am I going to be remembered for? Am I just going to be remembered for having a lot of money and like being an asshole? Like, because that's not how I want to be remembered, right? So like, I really thought, like, when you're writing down this person, and maybe the money thing, or like maybe the materialistic things are an important aspect, but it's not the most important aspect. Like, people remember you, and people will have so much respect for you when you are a kind, good, like genuine person. And I don't even want to say kind, but like compassionate. Like, people will remember that so much more than the fact, like, yeah, okay, sure, you have a nice car, and if you're a complete asshole, that's all that people will remember, is that you were a complete asshole to them. And then that's all they'll remember. I don't even like really need to go off on a tangent with that, but like, people remember you when you're kind. People also remember you when you're an asshole, but like, I don't want to be remembered as an asshole. So when I was describing who she was, that was something that was very important for me to acknowledge too, was like, yes, you know, okay, future me has all the money that I want. I'm wearing the clothes that I want. I have the car that I want. But future me is also like a really awesome person. Like, I'm a really good, just all around, like, good-hearted person, and I care about people. And that's something that I want when you go to describe yourself. Don't just think of the materialistic things, because yeah, those are all nice, but like, think about like the type of person that you are. The next question that I asked myself was like, what's her self-care routine? And this I'm not gonna really read mine, but what's your self-care routine? It's so important to take care of yourself first. And I know that as women, sometimes it's so easy to take care of everybody else and put yourself on the back burner. And then what does that lead to? Resentment, anger, irritation, all of those like negative feelings because you're not taking care of yourself. So, and self-care isn't just bubble baths and facials, and it's not that. Like, yeah, I can include that. That's totally fine. But it's also like taking care of your spiritual well-being and taking care of your mental well-being and your physical well-being. And I'm not a religious person, and I said that, I would never talk about religion on this podcast, but I will say like the mind, body, spirit connection, like that's your holy trinity right there. Like mind, body, spirit. If one of them's out of alignment, like the other ones are out of alignment. So it's like you really need to find the balance in your self-care routine where it's like you are taking care of all three aspects. Sometimes, and when I say out of alignment, that doesn't necessarily mean that all three need to have equal priority in the moments. Like that's the beauty of life. Like sometimes you're going to need more like physical, like you're going to need to work out more, like just physical movement of your body. Sometimes you're going to need more spiritual. Sometimes you're going to need more like mental, self-care routines. So it's like, find the things that make each of those three aspects, your mind, your body, and your spirit, find things that resonate with you that improve each of those categories. Okay, the third question that I asked myself was like, what does she wear? What is her style? And again, this varies from person to person. What I see as my style and what I'm comfortable in may not be what you're comfortable in. And again, that's the beauty of individuality. One of the future episodes, we'll be talking about like social media and essentially all of us just being clones of each other and how sad that is, because we were each tailor-made like to be ourselves. And it's sad that we live in a society now where it's like everybody just wants to be like everybody. And I get that, like, trust me, I get the influencer thing, and I succumb to that sometimes where I'm like, oh dang, I really like this fit, or I really like this style, or I really like this trend that's going around, and that's totally fine. But like also remember, like, even though things are trending, like, make it your own, like you are you, and that is such a beautiful thing. So moving on, what does she wear? What's her style? And even if you're not sure on like a specific look, I will say with me, like, one day I want to be like super girly, one day I want to be like punk rock, and then the next day I want to, dress in like 90s like hip hop fashion, and then the next day I'm like some hippie queen where I just like I'm a flower child. So I just wrote down words that how I want to feel when I wear my clothing. It doesn't necessarily like have to be an exact like style, and then you're like dedicated to that. So think about how you want to feel when you're dressed, or like what your style is. Fourth question, what are your boundaries? Not going to go through mine, but figure out what your boundaries are, things that you will not tolerate, things that everybody knows what a boundary is. You know what I mean? Figure out what they are and stick to them. How you treat yourself is how you're telling other people to treat you. So get clear on what your boundaries are, stick to them. The next one is like, what's she eat? What am I eating? What does my lifestyle look like, right? So it's like all these questions are really like, what does your lifestyle look like? What does your life look like on a day-to-day? The next one is like, how much money does she make? Okay, again, not going to go into that, but what are you comfortable making? What is your goal? And it's easy to be like, oh, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a billionaire. It's very easy to say that. Sure, yeah, we all want that, right? But truly, like, what is an acceptable amount for you on a monthly basis? Like, I need X amount to be comfortable, right? And then come up with a game plan. After that. But really outline what you need to be comfortable, and then set some bigger goals with that as well. This one was a funny one to me. My next question that I asked myself is what is her career? And I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret here. When you have an outlandish dream and it seems so crazy to everybody else that, like, I don't want to say embarrassed, but it's like you're almost embarrassed, or like you don't want to say it out loud because you believe it so much in your heart and you don't want people's negativity to like bring you down. That is me and this podcast, and that is me and where I see myself in the future. Because I'm gonna share very publicly now what I want my career to be, what I envision my life being like. So I wrote a couple of things. Also in one of the questions was like, I have multiple sources. The money. I have multiple sources of income, right? So when I wrote down what is her career, I wrote down podcast host, YouTube, content creator, public speaker, personal development coach, and mentor. For me to say that out loud, it's not that I don't believe that I can't get there. It's just, it seems outlandish. I can hear, I guess, like those are programming, is like I can hear my brother being like, oh, you're going to start a podcast and be a life coach? That's the most millennial thing I've ever heard come out of your fucking mouth, Josie. My parents being like, oh yeah, like that's a great idea. Don't quit your day job. Shout out to my parents. I love them. Don't get me wrong. My mom is very supportive. She's like, yeah, Josie, you should totally do that. But I think if I were to be like, oh yeah, like I'm going to make this podcast like my full-time gig. Like I'm going to make content creation like my full-time gig. I can hear my friends laughing. I'm like, oh yeah, well, it's going to be a solo podcast. Like you're not going to have a co-host. Like all the greatest podcasters are at least 2 people. And I can just hear all the negative voices. So sometimes it's like you have this idea in your head, or you have this dream in your head, and you're scared to share it because you can already hear the negativity coming from other people. So it's like, it's sacred and you like want to keep it to yourself. But I'm here sharing it with you because I'm going to make all of those things happen. My next question on my list was, how does she speak? And funny little story with this one is I did this homework, right? Like I did all this. And then I had a conversation and I was like, it's so funny because who I see in the future, like this person that I want to be, this like super successful version of me, and all of these things that I wrote down on this piece of paper, or these like 5 sheets of paper, all of those things I already am. The only difference is I'm not monetarily where I want to be yet. I'm not necessarily at this point in life making the money that I see myself making. I'm not in the home that I see myself living in. I'm not driving the car that I want to be driving. I'm not taking the trips that I want to be taking. Like it's all the materialistic things that I'm not seeing yet, right? But they're there. If I can envision them, they're already there. We're going to do an episode about quantum mechanics eventually, but like, all those things are already there, right? But I'm already that person. And I think the disconnect for us sometimes is that we don't always see ourselves for the people that we actually are. We are so highly critical of ourselves and want to be, we just nitpick, right? Like, if only there was a way at some point in life, like, that you could switch roles with somebody who sees you for the exact, like, miraculous, wonderful creation that you are. Like, sometimes I wish I could see myself through other people's eyes because I am so highly critical of myself. And I think that by doing this work and really figuring out, like, who we are, like, there does become a point where it's like we can sort of see ourselves through somebody else's eyes. I think we'll always be, sorry for such a long pause. I think we'll always be critical of ourselves, but I think that it's so important to really understand how great we are. And that's not coming from a place of ego, but it's like when you really are a good person, or you really are doing work and you're showing up for yourself and you're showing up for other people and you're putting your best foot forward, and you're, nobody's ever going to be perfect, ever. If they say they're perfect, they're fucking lying. Because what is perfection, right? But when you're giving it your all and you're doing the best that you can, and you know that you're doing the best that you can, like, we can be easy on ourselves. Like, we can offer ourselves grace and understanding and compassion and love as easy as it is for us to do that for other people. Like, we really have to, like, get in the habit of doing that for ourselves. Because, like I've said in past episodes, if we don't ever see the good that we're doing now, when we're doing the things that we think are going to make us great, like, we're not going to think that we're great in those moments. We're constantly going to be like, okay, what's next? I should be doing more. I could be doing, I didn't do this perfectly, or this could have been better. And I think it's good to, like, observe yourself and say, oh yeah, okay, like, this could have been better. Next time we'll do X, Y, Z, and apply it to whatever area of life. And, I lost my train of thought. I think it's okay to, want to be better, but I think it's also okay to accept where you are, the knowledge that you have, the understanding of life as you know it in the now, and be like, hey, you know what? Like, it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. And that's not to say half-ass something or don't give something your all, but when you're giving it your all, it's okay if it's good enough. Like, and it's okay to have areas of improvement. That is life. Like, that is all life is like, oh, okay, like, learning and gaining knowledge and gaining understanding of, like, who we are as people. That's what life is. That's all it is. That's all we're here for. Sure, what's our career and what's our purpose? I think your purpose comes from what is the biggest lesson that you're supposed to learn in life, right? I just got off a call with somebody who I will eventually be doing a collaboration with for each of our podcasts. And he asked me, like, who are you trying to help? And, like, what's your, what's the purpose? And I was like, I have been through my life and I didn't understand what self-love was. I didn't see my worthiness. I didn't see my value. And I kept repeating situation after situation after situation, romantic relationships, friendships, family, whatever, you name it. I kept going through situations where I didn't feel valued. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't have any self-respect. And I think my purpose was to go through all of that. When I say, like, life is always happening for you, not to you, like, I really think that my purpose was to go through all of that shit, all of the things that I've been through in my life, so that way I can sit here and have conversations with people and have conversations with all of you and say, hey, like, this is what I've been through and this is what works for me, and if you need help figuring out what's going to work for you, like, I'm here for you, I got you, like, let's figure it out together. And, like, I've felt so isolated and alone so many times in my life that's, like, I know what that feeling is like, and I know how in certain moments, in a lot of moments, honestly, like, I wish I just had somebody to reach out who, like, understood where I was coming from, or could at least, like, empathize with my situation or my circumstances and offer guidance. Right? We talked about the victim mindset last week of, like, I'm more than willing to listen to your story and sympathize, empathize, be compassionate and understanding of like why you think you can't do the things that you want to do. But I'm also the person that's going to have your back, and I'm going to push you, and I'm going to say, look, that's cool that all that shit happened to you, right? Like, figure out the lessons in each. Go back through the pain. And that's the thing that's like, a lot of people don't want to sit through the pain of like, they don't want to relive it, but like, the only way out is through. That's like the only thing that I can think of right now. The only way out is through. So it's like, you have to sit through that shit, as uncomfortable as it is. That's the only way that you're gonna, this version, the who are you, who do you want to be, who do you see yourself, like what's the future version of you look like. The only way that you're gonna get to that person is to sit through your shit, deal with it, figure out the lessons that you're supposed to be learning, so that way you can start making moves intentionally to get to the person that you want to become, to get to that future self, to get to that highest self. You are already your highest self. You already hold all the tools, and I won't say the knowledge, because there's always room to like learn more, but you already have everything that you need to be that fucking version. But until you sit through the pain, until you sit through all the shit that you've been through, until you start to decode all the messages of all the shit that you've been through, you're not going to know how to move forward. You're not going to know how to create a plan and execute the plan to get to that future version of yourself. So, now that we've gone through some of the questions of like, I just got really passionate. Hold on a second. I just want to take a minute and say that like, I am so passionate about like helping other people get to a point where they can see that like that future version of themselves, like you're already it. Like it's already it. You got everything. Because I know the pain and the struggle and like the irritation and the aggravation of like, how the fuck do I get there? Like, okay, sure, I know that I need to do all this, but how the fuck do I get there? And I've gone through that mentality for a long time, and I've figured out the systems that worked for me, and I've implemented the systems that work for me, and it truly is my passion to help other people figure that out. So you don't feel like you're just like fucking flying blind and life's just happening to you and you're just floating on a rock in outer space. Like, I mean, yeah, okay, we fucking are, but I help me help you. Like, I really do just want to help. People understand that, like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm off on a tangent, but I did just want to say that I am very passionate about that, and please feel free to reach out if you're really truly ready to like take that step and plan and execute. That's gonna be my my little catchphrase for this episode is plan and execute. So now that you've like asked your questions of like, you've described this person, that your future self, what they look like, what they drive, what are their daily habits, what are they eating, how do they dress, what kind of person are they? The next really, really important question: what's your why? Why is the future version of yourself that way? Why are they a kind person? Why are they compassionate? Why are they assertive? Why are they intentional? Why are they whatever it is that you wrote down? What is your why? Why are you doing all this shit, right? If we're just floating on a rock in outer space and nothing fucking matters, like, what's your why? What is your why? And get very specific on what is your why. Is it a person? Is it yourself? Is it your inner child? Is it your children? Like, what is the why? My why And I didn't really understand my why until I had my daughter. When I say that kid saved me from myself, like, she really did. So she is part of my why, the main reason for my why, honestly. But my why is I want to be an inspiration. And not in an egotistical way of where I'm like, oh, I'm so inspirational and everybody should look up to me and like I'm up on some fucking pedestal, like I'm better than people. That's not what I mean. I want to be an inspiration in the way that I want you to know that you can come from nothing. You can be quote unquote predestined for failure or predestined for a certain type of life. And you can call bullshit on that and you can make whatever fucking life that you want to. That is how I want to be inspirational to people. Because I will say it, I don't care whose feelings it hurts. You're not special. I'm not special. We are all equal. We are all so powerful. It's really, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? How much work are you willing to put in to get to it? Like, to get to that person, right? This is all about, like, who you want to be. Like, why the fuck do you even want to be that person? What the hell do I care? You know what I mean? Like, we're all just floating on a rock in outer space. What's your why? But I do. I'm going to share a little tidbit of information. This might make me sound, I don't even have the word for it right now, but I always say that, like, when I was growing up, like, I was in a lot of environments where I very easily could have done drugs. I very easily could have gotten in trouble, ended up in jail, ended up just in a not good way of life, right? Like, not the life that I want to lead. But I have always had this voice in the back of my head, call it God, call it the universe, my spirit team, my future version of myself. I don't know what you want to call it whatever you want. But there has always been a voice in the back of my head saying, Josie, you're better than this. Josie, you're better than this. Like, and again, it's not from like I'm better than anybody. I'm not. I'm just as equal. We're all equal. Like, but I just knew that I was destined for something so much greater than the lifestyles that I was shown growing up. I just knew that. And I always had this vision of, hasn't come true yet, but it's going to. But I always had this vision of speaking to people and asking the question, what's my stereotype? Somebody tell me about myself. Who, if you were to just look at me, if you were to just look at me from the outside, from my physical appearance, and automatically stereotype me within the first 5 seconds of looking at me, who am I? What kind of life did I live? I always had that vision of asking, and I promise you it's going to happen. Like, when I said that I wanted to be a public speaker, I do. I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to speak to people, and physically be in front of them, not just on the podcast, but I always wanted to ask that question. Stereotype me. Tell me who I am. Tell me about myself. And then completely flip the script and say, no, all of you are wrong. None of that has happened to me. Which, maybe now I'm kind of ruining that question because I've given my backstory a little bit. But say I'm in a room and people don't know who I am. You know what I mean? They're just like, there's a speaker, whatever. I've always wanted to ask that question because I think that we do that so much of we see somebody for just a few seconds and we automatically say, oh shit, life must be so easy for them. Or, oh yeah, they must have had it easy. Or we're so quick to do that. And it's like, truly, until you ask or until somebody tells you, you have no fucking clue. But I always had that vision that one day I'm going to be in front of a crowd of people and I'm going to ask that question. Somebody stereotype me. Maybe it'll be a little different by the time that I, get to that point of where I'm public speaking. But I just knew that there was something better. And I think that we all know that. I really do think that, when we're young, before we get all of our programming and all of our inner voices from the people that raised us or the people that we grew up around, and then, we start hearing those voices instead of our own, being like, nah, bro, you got it. You can do it. You're better than this. You know better. It's like always that mom voice of like, you fucking know better. Like, you fucked up, But I think we really do all have that voice, that inner knowing that like life can be whatever we want it to be. We can see that future self and we can know that is already us. We just have to wait for like the physical manifestation of that version to come in. And we have to just prove to ourselves that's like, we're better than our current circumstances. And again, that's nobody's better than anybody, but it's like when you know that the life that you want to live, you know what you're capable of, you know what kind of person you are, and you want that, you can have it. Because you're already that person. Just certain things about that future version of yourself have not manifested physically yet, like in your physical reality. So yeah, I want to be an inspiration. You know what I mean? I do. That's my why. I want to be an inspiration to my child. I want to be an inspiration to other women, to underprivileged women, or, underprivileged girls that think that, they're shown a certain lifestyle or a certain aspect of life and they're like, well, fuck, this is it for me. Like, nah, baby, that doesn't have to be it for you. There's a whole world, like, that whole phrase of, like, out of sight, out of mind. And also, like, ignorance is bliss. The out of sight, out of mind is, like, basically if it's not in your physical reality, like, if you're not seeing it, you don't necessarily know that it exists, right? So, like, if you only ever see one lifestyle, that's all that you know that exists, and you become really comfortable with it. You're like, okay, fuck it, this is my life, this is life, this is what I have to look forward to. But thankfully, like, we live in a time and space where it's like you can see, we have a window to the world, right? Like your phone, a computer, a laptop, the internet is the window to the world. Like, you can see that and you can decide, hey, is this for me? Is this not for me? Hey, let me try it. And I think that we get so comfortable in our own reality, or in the knowing that we have of life and like the things that we see, that it's really hard to like tiptoe across that line and be like, let me just try this out. Let me just see if this is for me. And everything's not for you. Everything's not for me. Like, and that's okay. But it's like, I want to inspire people to try something different, to look at the possibility of like, okay, hey, I see, I grew up in poverty, or like I grew up poor, and but I see these rich people and they're living in these mansions and they're vacationing in these beautiful ass places, and like I can never have that because that's not what I was born into. Don't sell yourself short. Don't fucking sell yourself short. And I will say on that note, like, I used to be very resentful of like, the people that I used to be, But no, it's like I used to be that person. I'm like, oh yeah, well, that's easy for you to do. It must be nice having mommy and daddy's money. And like, you know, you just get resentful. And you're like, well, fuck, I wasn't born into that. Like, I can never have that. Like, that's fucking bullshit, bro. That's bullshit. Yeah, I'm just going to conclude there. Don't sell yourself short, because that future version of yourself that you're envisioning, you're already them. And maybe not to a T. That's where this mini series comes into place. All right, find your values, be self-aware. Where do you need the improvement? It's never a bad thing if you need to improve. Like, that just means that you get to become better. Like, we're all out here trying to be the fucking best. Like, do that. And that's not a competition with people out in the world. Like, you're not in competition with them. You're in competition with yourself. I know you've heard it. It's one of the motivational quotes that's on every fucking motivational, inspirational Instagram page, TikTok page, whatever. You're not in competition with anybody else, because you're you. Like, nobody can compete with you. Whatever makes you unique, like, that was God's blessing to you. That was the universe's blessing to you. Like, use that shit to your advantage. Don't be out here trying to be a clone of everybody else. Like, it's fine if we like the same things and like we like trends and stuff like that, but like, don't lose yourself in the world around you, because that shit ain't gonna help you. Then you are gonna be stuck. So yeah, this week, go out there, physically write down. I know that it's like, you know, it's easy to like think about things. Physically write it down, bro. Like, because when I was writing this stuff this week, like, it literally took me writing out on a piece of paper for me to connect to the fact that, like, I am already these things. Like, I'm already halfway, more than fucking halfway, to being that version of myself. I'm more than halfway there. And how empowering is that, right? Like, you know, when you're starting out and you're like, all right, like, you see, like, you're going on a hike, right? And you're at the bottom of the mountain and you see the top of the mountain and you're like, fuck, okay. Like, it's going to be worth it. The view is going to be amazing. I'm going to feel great afterwards. But like, when you're sitting at the bottom of the mountain, you're like, fuck, bro. Okay. You have to like mentally prepare yourself. But when you're like halfway up, you're like, dude, like, you know, you might have your moments where you're like struggling a little bit, but you're like, all right, we're halfway there. Like, I know when I get to the top, when I get there, like, the view is going to be amazing. It's going to be so fucking worth it. So when you actually write out who you want to be, what that future version of yourself looks like, and how they act and how they behave, and all of the things that encompass them as a whole, and you start to realize, like, oh, wait a fucking minute. I'm already doing most of these things. I'm already halfway there. Like, my mountaintop view ain't that fucking far away. Like, I'm almost there. That's so fucking empowering. So write the shit out. Do me a favor. Just go write it down. The power of putting pen to a paper or pencil to a paper. Like, yeah, technology is great and shit, but sometimes just like writing it out is so much more beneficial. Even in your, I will say, I personally enjoy putting the pen to the paper and like writing it out, but also too, like, use your fucking notes app. Like, and then start clocking those moments where it's like, you know, you've made this list and who your future version of yourself is. Start taking note of moments that you're like, oh shit, like, damn, I don't know, what's something. Like, if it's a morning routine or something, right? Like, damn, completed my morning routine today. Did that. Woohoo. Guess what? My highest version of myself would be proud of me right now because I just did that. Oh, completed my nighttime routine. Did that. Oh, damn. Working out consistently for months now. Still got it. Still got it going on. Like, prove to your brain that you are already that person. Like, one, it's, yes, writing it out was very important to me, but like, now I'm like, damn, Also, shout out to Allie Nympho from the Unfuck Yourself podcast. If you haven't listened to her or you have no idea who she is, and you're like a spiritual girly and into like the kind of woo-woo stuff, even if you're not, fucking go listen to her. She's the one that was like, take out your notes app. So let me give credit where credit is due. But she's like, you know, start like clocking those moments, start identifying those moments, and like shit will start coming in so much faster when you can prove to your brain, because again, you can only prove what your brain already knows. So if you're making a note, oh hey shit, damn, I did that, damn, higher self, and fucking title the note like my higher self, shit my higher self does. Name it that. Start clocking those moments. Again, shout out to Allie. If you have not listened to her podcast or have no idea who she is, go check her out. She is like, how do I even word it? Like, I geek out about her because I just love her work so much, and I just resonate with everything that she talks about so much. But go check her out, and I lost my train of thought because I was geeking out about Allie. No, I just, it's not very often that I'm inspired by people, I guess. Or that I really resonate, like can resonate with somebody on everything that they say, right? And that she is that for me. I feel like, you know, she's been in the game for a minute, she's done the work, and she solidifies a lot of things that I felt crazy for believing, or I don't want to say crazy for believing, but I just felt like, you know, I have a different outlook on life, or I have a different perspective than everybody else, and that just makes me a little weird, and that's okay. Like, I like that because I like being weird, but like, I don't feel weird when I listen to her, because everything that she says, I'm like, oh my God, I've thought of this 1,000 times over. Like, thank you for solidifying it for me, you know? But yeah, shout out to her. Go check her out. Figure out who the hell you want to be. Figure out your why. Plan and execute how you're gonna get to that future version of yourself. And I will see you all next week. I feel so inspired this week to just to live my best fucking life. I just feel so. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I've been in a funk the last, I don't know, couple of weeks. I don't know what it was. I really don't know what it was, but I was just like in a funk, and I finally feel like myself again. So I truly hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to, you know, turn on your notifications so that way you can stay up to date. I post every week, usually on Thursdays, sometimes on Fridays. Probably always on Thursdays now. Like I said, I've been in a little funk, so we've worked through that. We're moving on, taking baby steps to get to the highest version of ourselves. Yeah, so that's all I have. I'll see you guys next week. Okay, love ya. Bye.